Welcome back to a new video. I'm going to be making the oil drain in this one, along with the tapping and JB welding of the manifold. I already did that, but I recorded it, so just filming the intro after. But for the drain, I have 2 feet of -10 AN, which if I were to do it again, I would get stainless just because it gets really close to the manifold, and I'm kind of worried about that. But I am going to be wrapping this drain in some fire sleeve to try and prevent anything. A 90 10 AN so that this will go into the pan, and then the straight that'll go into the bottom of the turbo. This is one of the things that I was saying. If I mess up, I'm gonna show it. And this is probably one of the biggest things that I've been dealing with this car, and what makes it so annoying. But I'm pretty sure you can tell everything under here is drenched in oil. And then all that oil leaked out of here. So the reason that is, well, first off, look at that fucking drain. My dumbass welded it right there, forgetting that that's where the steering rack goes, right there close to the hump. So I was just like, oh yeah, let me just put it right there. That's a perfect spot. No, it's fucking horrible. I don't know what I'm gonna do because the steering line, it's been sitting on that steering line, and that's what's making it leak. You can see how up top at the right there, it's pushed in like that, and then at the bottom it's open. So I'm pretty sure oil is just fucking seeping out of that bottom. But if you are gonna do this, the best way I know to explain it to you guys, like, see, there's the AC compressor. If you still want to run it, right there is where you want to put the drain, right there. So the drain is right there, and you want to go right in between those 2 oil pan bolts, right there in the middle. That'll be the perfect spot. The drain for the turbo will literally go from up there straight down into there, and you have no issues. I took that cooler line out because there was no way that was gonna work. I was trying to lift the engine and raise it with washers, but it just wasn't worth it. So I guess if you don't have it like this, you can weld the drain there, but it's just better to do it right there in the middle. But the reason why that took so long to get out is because, again, my dumbass put this little bolt into right there. So that was literally right behind the engine, leaving me no space. It is right in there. So I was going in there with an Allen wrench, getting at it for an hour and a half, and got it out. But now, since the rubber side went into here and this side is like that, when it's on the power steering reservoir, it's like this. So I'm wondering if I can maybe like cut it right here, maybe cut it right there, and then flip the banjo from being down to up, and then I can take this line, cut it right here, and then just slip that line over there, right there, and then put a hose clamp on it really tight. So I'm gonna just blast the cut right across here. For this one, I'll just go ignorant with the box cutter. Just give her a nice cut right there. Fuck. Rough ass cut, but I don't care. So now, after cutting up that expensive ass line, this is what I'm left with. Let's go to the car. So I just installed everything, and I'm really happy with how it came out, actually. So that's where it came out before. Still has that little restriction thing in there, and then this goes straight into the piece that was originally there. Just turned it upside down, and now I have no more cooler, which means I can have access to my drain, hopefully. I have the line in place somewhat where it's gonna be right there. The line is right there where it's gonna be roughly where the drain is. And I'm doing this mainly to show where the drain is gonna be. This is really hard to show down here, but I'm trying to show that the drain goes in right there and it goes up through there around the manifold. And I'm gonna leave it exactly in the 2-foot option. I'm not gonna cut any because it's hard to show when I'm by myself, but that distance that's there is about the distance that it needs to go down into the turbo and have the right fitment. I was saying, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I was concerned about the angle right here of this drain, and I don't think it's gonna be a problem because after doing more research, I realized that the way physics works is since the oil level in the pan is only gonna be like, they say that the oil level is an inch above the block or whatever in these engines. So if it's an inch above the block and then oil is coming through the drain, the only way that it would be a problem is if this line backs up all the way into the turbo. And the only way that that would happen is if the engine was as well filling up all the way to the top where the turbo is. So this problem here isn't actually a problem unless if you're running like a bottom mount turbo where it sits around here and then the drain goes into there and then that's when it starts to back up. But here with this setup, it's never actually going to back up because the turbo is so high up and this line is never actually going to get full, you know? Hopefully that made sense. I'm going to start off with this straight that goes under the turbo. So I'm gonna take this, push it onto here. That's in straight all the way. It's butting up on the bottom right there. So you can get you some lube. I'm gonna use WD-40. Get that in there, lubed up, so you can stick that fitting in and then thread it on all the way. I'm gonna put it in the vise with the paper. Now this part just goes into there. Make sure it's straight like that, and then thread it in. Got some tape to protect the fitting. If you don't have those expensive, nice wrenches, the one thing I would recommend is don't put this all the way down like this. Because if the wrench is over that fitting that's on the hose at all, it's gonna strip it like how it did right there. So once you're getting close, get down to eye level, make sure you're only on the top nut right there, spinning that, and you won't get a gouge like that. This drain right here is wrong for this eBay GT 3582 because the 3582 has 1.5 inches from hole to hole, and this one is 2 inches. You can see that right there. But what I'm gonna do is bolt in one right there and then thread that in so that I can just have that line going, because it's still gonna be like that. It's just, you know, not exactly where it's gonna be. So that's on there just for testing purposes. So now I can take that line, screw it in to there, and we can go to the bottom and finish that. So here, this is as straight as I can get the center section, because down there, since I have the straight fitting on the drain, it is going down and hitting the manifold all the way at the bottom over there. So I'm gonna get a 45 fitting so that that screws into there and hopefully makes that bend quicker or sooner, so that that line won't be as close to that manifold and hopefully fit better, because there's enough room in there and I can just kick it out that way towards the engine and have it not be as close. That's the line up there connected to the turbo, and I want it to be kind of like this. It's not exactly a straight shot down, but I want it to be sticking away from the manifold. So if I put that fitting on right there, it'll be kind of like this. It'll still be straight up and down, but the more slack I can have in the line, the further I can get it away from that manifold. I want about that much fire sleeve on there, so I'm gonna cut that piece off and just slide it on, and then I can put this last fitting on there. Even though I will be taking this off, but I'm just doing this so you guys know. Fire sleeve first, and then put the last fitting on. So I have that slid on, and I can remove this fitting and then install the 90 right at the bottom. Just like last time. That's not in all the way. That's in all the way. Now just put some pressure down there and turn this there. It would help if the vise was bolted down, but I think this is a valid tip. I'm not sure. Making this right here flush with the vise so that the adjustable doesn't scratch it. But here you can just push down. So here's the line with the fittings on it. There's the 90 up to the fire sleeve right there. And then the straight fitting right there, which I'm gonna switch to the 45 fitting. But that's what the line is gonna look like. A 2 feet section right there with a 90 and a 45 and the heat shield, and you have yourself a nice oil drain. Just got the 45 degree in. So I'm gonna make sure that this all goes in line like this. So that goes into the pan down at the bottom, up, and like that into the turbo. Just to make sure I put the line into the pan right there, ran it up into right about there. So I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I think I'm just gonna pull it out like this. And then try and get the, since that's at the same angle there, I'm gonna put the fitting on there and then pull this all off. I lied, the fitting was just stiff. It actually does move up here, so it doesn't really matter. Oh. So it doesn't really matter where you put this on, just put it on. But now this line is all crunched up and ugly because since I had the straight fitting on here, I had to pull that off, and then it was kind of frayed. So then I cut it with an angle grinder with electrical tape, and I don't know. It was just, it made it really hard to put that fitting on. So I'm gonna just hope that this shit doesn't leak, because down there is perfect. Not perfect. Here the line is installed fully, going into the pan, up through there, around the AC compressor. Up through here, you can see that a lot of space through there. Right here, the 45 is literally the perfect angle for that. You can see right there, as far as it can be from the manifold and out of the way as possible with the fire sleeve on there. And then this center section is as vertical as it can be. And it's not gonna be able to be straight up like that, but hopefully once I have the right drain on, it can give a little bit more room to go straight up. But that is done. Now I want to drill these into the intake manifolds so that these can be used for the map sensor, the wastegate, and then the boost gauge. So for me to put these in, I'm gonna drill a hole into the intake manifold and JB weld them in. So just so you guys can see one more time, 1/4 inches for the map sensor, 1/4 inches for the blow off valve, and 3/16 is for the boost gauge. These all have the same pipe thread, and 1/2 inch is the size for it. I'm gonna start with this smaller drill, pilot hole. I'm gonna do the first hole and see how it goes. Okay, that's... So once I get JB Weld on it and actually tighten it down, this is what it'll look like. So I'm gonna do that now too. But I think that looks pretty cool. I threaded these in just so that they can go in a little bit easier, but they don't have to actually be that so tight that you thread it in. It's just half-inch drill bit. Works so perfectly for this. But now I'm gonna mix up some JB Weld, put it on the threads, and then that's gonna be done. Steel, hardener. Have this go on, because you don't really need to put a lot in because it's all going to come out once it gets to the bottom. So I got it all cleaned up, the top of the nuts right here, and then all the barb fitting, and it looks pretty decent right there. I ran my finger around the edge so that it could get an even bevel around there, and I just hope that that doesn't leak. But that's how it looks. I placed the manifold in fully, and that's how it's gonna look. Sitting right there. So if I run an oil distribution cap on the housing, I'm pretty sure the lines could just go right here. No interference. That would just be sitting there. Then the lines can just come off here and go around. If you can see it, it's one thing, but once a rubber line goes up to the top over here, it won't be as noticeable. So now that I opened the boost gauge, I realized that there's a restrictor inside of the T, which means that I don't need this barb fitting necessarily, but if you do want to run this, you need to buy this barb fitting off of glowshift.com that has this restrictor inside, or else the boost gauge hums. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to run, this is my vacuum for the fuel pressure regulator. I'm going to run that line over to here, and then I'm just gonna buy another T and then have this line in there go into the boost gauge, and then another T going to the fuel pressure regulator, because I fucked up and I didn't realize that that fitting has to be a restricted, and I don't want to take that out and JB weld it again. Finally, I'm up to date again. It's January 2nd and the drain line is in, how I showed you guys before, but I just want to have this clip at the end of the video. So that's installed, the drain all the way down there. That middle sensor is for the map, and then that is for the boost right there. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content, because I cannot wait till this car is driving. I'm gonna make a lot of driving videos with this, you know, GoPro up in the on my head, on the dash, reaction videos, you know. Stay tuned.